So, all of our guests here on ZASLOW Show 2.0 brought to us by Johnny Cuba. Go get yourself a Johnny six packs of Johnny Cuba available right now. Special holiday deals all throughout the holiday season at Winn-Dixie, at Fresco y Mas. You also go pick up Presidente, Sedanos. We're talking European roots with a Caribbean soul. Johnny Cuba. Don't forget their mantra, stay tranquilo. And joining us here, of course, one of our favorites, NBC6's Ruthie Polinsky here. Now, Ruthie, I got to start by asking you, how do you get to spend an entire week in California covering the Dolphins, and somehow they don't send you to go watch the Dolphins in Buffalo, where apparently they play on the wall where Game of Thrones is filmed? How did you avoid going to Buffalo?
Okay, so actually, I was bummed that I didn't get to go to Buffalo. I think I've always wanted to go to a game in Orchard Park. I just want to see it. I got to experience it. And if I'm going to go to Orchard Park, I want it to be snowing. Like, I want it to be peak Buffalo. I want to see it in its prime. This is why we love it here. Bills Mafia in their best. But basically what happened was I spent the week in California leading up to the Dolphins game because it was on Sunday Night Football. So because we had some pregame specials, a postgame special with the game on our air, we really invested a lot of our resources into going to California and kind of spending the week there. And then they lose two straight. Plus it was on a Saturday night, and with local news, we don't get a ton of bang for our buck, with weekend games on Saturday when we don't have a show. And for our 11 o'clock newscast, the game wasn't even over. So we couldn't even show highlights at 11. So there isn't a ton of TV, profit in the local news world when they play on a Saturday night. I was going to do my show on Sunday anyways. So that's kind of how that all shook out. And I was bummed. Like I said, I wanted to see Buffalo. I wanted it to be in the snow, looking to avoid their third straight loss. I was ready. I was rearing to go. And then we're pressing on the brakes a little bit here.
So if it was up to you, you would have went to that game.
Oh, 100%. 100%. I would have loved to go to that game. Keep in mind, I get to sit in the press box. So, I'm not sitting out there in the elements all game. I'm not on the sideline during the game. I'm in the press box. So I would have done my show from the field in that snow that started coming down in the fourth quarter. That would have been I would have loved that.
Also, you're it's not such a foreign concept for you. I've never watched a football game in the elements. I've been to one game in my life in the elements where I went to. Me and Joy Taylor went to the Stadium Series game in New York, Rangers and Islanders at Yankee Stadium. It was 5 degrees. Holy shit, it was so cold. But other than that, I've never been to a game in the elements. But you went to school at Michigan. I mean, you've been to these kind of games.
I grew up in St. Louis. I went to Michigan. I worked in Rhode Island. I covered the Pats, in Foxborough. I've seen some nice January, December winter games in some cold places. So I've been there. I've done that. And
so
keep in mind, ZASLOW, it was not that cold. I mean, it was 31 degrees. The game that was played in Chicago 2 days ago or yesterday was 12-degree wind chill. That's cold. That's when you can't feel your face and everything hurts. When it's 31 degrees and it's pretty snow, let's go. I probably would have been cold because my blood has really thin since moving to Florida, and it gets to 50, 60 degrees. I walked outside last night after our 11 o'clock show, and I was like, it's cold. I was like, it's chilly. It's cold front. It was 60 degrees.
Yep. I went outside this morning to let my dogs out back. It is chilly out here.
Yeah.
And yes, I hear you. What was the point in the game on Saturday night where you thought the Dolphins were going to win? There must have been a time where, oh my God, I can't believe we're actually going to win this game.
They were up 8, right?
Yep.
That was when I was like, they might pull this off. And then Buffalo had that last drive, and I was like, that was right there. I mean, it was right there. And I feel frustrated by this loss because it was
so
winnable.
Angry. I was so angry Saturday night.
It was right there. And I hate to point fingers here with this loss, but Tua played well. The defense played good enough for the most part. They couldn't get off the field, obviously, on that last drive. And McDaniel didn't manage the game well. I mean, again, and this is kind of a theme, and I talked about this on our show last night. I think he's still a rookie coach. Like he's still learning like his system and how to manage the clock, when to call timeouts. Like he called those timeouts really late in the game. And I think you could have given yourself a better chance. And keep in mind, they had to call timeout in the third quarter because they couldn't get the playoff or something. I can't remember exactly what happened. They had to burn a timeout in the third quarter, which your second half timeouts are so precious. And when you wait to call those timeouts, you know, I think it was like a minute, it was under 2 minutes, they started using their timeouts. And just when you're going up against the Bills in that kind of game, you kind of wanted him to have a little bit more time to maybe be able to get the ball back. And so that was frustrating for me because, again, can Tua play in the cold? Can the offense get back on track? Like all those questions were answered.
Yeah.
Can the run game get going? Like that was all answered, and they did it in the cold. They did it in the snow.
Yeah.
And then to lose to the Bills, that are a fantastic team. Like let's keep this in mind. Like fantastic team, but kind of I guess that's the narrative that's been bothering me the last 2 days. Like this is a moral victory. Like we can do it. Like we're right there with the Bills. Like woo. Like no. This is December. You are fighting for a wild card spot. Like this is exactly where we were last year at this point, fighting for a wild card spot. So like it's frustrating because obviously your 8-3 start is so exciting and the offense is sexy and flashy and explosive, but like when you look at it from a very like pushed back perspective, like we're in the same spot like where we were last year. So it's a little interesting to
well, like to that point, you know, what I've been talking about so far today, if there ever was a good loss, I do think that was the game, but I have a hard time seeing it that way because we're in the midst of a 3-game losing streak. You know, if this game right here was the game where our 5-game win streak was snapped, like this was the game instead of the 49ers game, I'd be sitting here saying, like, I would take silver linings out of it. But I have a hard time doing that when you're right, it's December, but I have a hard time doing that when it's the 3rd consecutive loss, you know? And yes, Tua did play well on Saturday. And by the way, especially in the first half, I mean, boy, his wide receivers really killed him. I mean, just killed him. Tua was placing that ball in perfect spots. I know Tyreek Hill apologized after the game. He has nothing to apologize for because he's amazing. All right. He's allowed to have an off game. He never has to apologize for anything. He still did. He's been an excellent leader for this team from the moment that he signed. Tua's wide receivers did not help him, especially, I mean, Sherfield catches that ball in a perfectly placed ball on the ground there. The Dolphins lost 4 points on that play. All right. You're kicking a field goal instead of getting a touchdown. But my thing is, while Tua played well on Saturday night, the fact of the matter is this 3-game losing streak, Ruthie, Tua's been outplayed by the quarterback in all 3 games. That's true. Okay. Purdy, Herbert, and Josh Allen. Now, there's no shame in Josh Allen outplaying you. But the fact of the matter is, you know, 4th quarter game on the line, Dolphins picked up a couple first downs. They got to midfield. They couldn't do anything after that. Josh Allen made all the big plays down the stretch. 3 straight games, 3-game losing streak. Tua, even though he played well Saturday, Tua's outplayed in all 3, lost all 3.
Yeah. And that guy's unbelievable, right? Like you're watching Josh Allen and you're like, this is a once in a generation quarterback, which stinks because he's in the division. But it's you want to see Tua be able to put the team on his back the way that Josh Allen does and the way that Patrick Mahomes can and these great quarterbacks, Joe Burrow, like even Herbert did in the game against the Dolphins. And I just think that there's still a little bit of that drop off that you just want to be able to see this guy come in a situation like that and be able to get a win on the road in Buffalo when the playoffs are on the line. And we just haven't really quite seen that yet when it comes down to those final moments in a crunch time situation. And it's frustrating. We're so happy with the growth we've seen from Tua this year. And I think he's really blown everyone out of the water and exceeded all expectations of what that year 3 jump was going to look like. But there are still some moments where you sit there and you say, all right, now it's time for him to like get everyone on his back the way Josh Allen takes off for that 44-yard run, and you're like, I want my quarterback to do that, So, it is, but like you said, I think the receivers hurt. I think there were some receiver issues.
Yep.
And again, I just think, why did they get away from the run that was working so well? And that was one of the frustrating things. That Levine Mostert has 100 yards rushing in the first quarter, and then after that, it was like, where'd he go? And I think we kind of got away from what was working well, and some of the play calling was a little questionable. And I just think there was a little bit of just a lot of situational things happening around Cuba that maybe weren't necessarily his fault.
I do think the reality, though, is, like the Dolphin fans' expectation has changed throughout this season, because the reality is this team's going to win 11 games. They're going to win these final 3 games. All right. They're going to beat the Packers this weekend. And then you got the Patriots and the Jets game at the end of the year, which is likely going to be for playoff spots. It's going to be a lot of fun. They're going to win these final 3 games, and they're going to have 11 wins I know, it's 11 wins in a 17-game season, not 16, but still 11 wins is a great season. This Dolphin team, they haven't won 11 games, I think, since 2008, when they won the division, the year where Pennington was the quarterback. So it's been, again, 16 games, 17 games, 14 years since the Dolphins have won 11 games. They got a great they're going to be favored in all 3 of these games, Ruthie. Sure.
Let me ask you, if they don't win these 3 games, how do you categorize this season? And they're like, win and get in against the Jets.
Well, it depends who, like, if they lose the Packers, but they beat the Patriots and the Jets, they're going to get into the playoffs with 10 wins. So it boils down to, are they going? So are you asking me if they miss the playoffs? How do I boil down the season?
No. Just if that last game comes down to win or get in, the way it was last year and the year before, you're winning. You got to win that last game and get in. Regardless of what happens, you get into that final wild card spot or whatever. How do you categorize that season relative to seasons prior?
I think it's going to be a great season. I think it's going to be a great season. You win 10 or 11 games, you get to the playoffs, and because you got to remember, no matter what seed they wind up getting to the postseason, we know we have a franchise quarterback. So if they make the playoffs, and we know we have a franchise quarterback, and in the first year this group is together, we have an explosive, very fun offense, this seems a home run. Like, that's what I'm talking about, where the Dolphin fans, the expectations change in the middle of the season. We're like, oh, wow, we're a lot better than we thought we were going to be. Now, just making the playoffs, that's not good enough. Let's go win the Super Bowl. Like, it's okay for expectations to change in the middle of the season. Sure. And that is what's happened this year. But if they just get to the reality is they're going to be favored in these final 3 games, each of them. And if they get to the playoffs, no matter what they do in the playoffs, I think it's a home run season. I do.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, you see the way that we learned we got the guy, right? Like, you got Tua, you got the guy, you got the coach, you have the pieces around you, Tyreek Hill for the foreseeable future. So, I think there are a lot of interesting ways to look at the season, but
like with Tyreek Hill, like, when's the last time the Dolphins signed a free agent? Dolphins have been all season, and I know he was traded, but then they signed him. The Dolphins have won the all season 1,000 times. When's the last time the Dolphins signed a big time free agent? He ended up being worth every penny. Like, that's what happens.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, this guy's unbelievable. I mean, he's on pace for having career numbers with Tua, and he used to play with Patrick Mahomes. So, like, it's really fun and fascinating, and it's a really cool kind of experiment to see, like, how that all played out. And I love what's happening there. I think defensively there are going to be some changes. This is all things we talked about in offseason, but man, I mean, your defense took a big step back from the last 2 years. And you go out and you get Bradley Chubb. Like, where's Chubb? Like you want to feel Chubb. Like, you want to feel his presence. Like, I feel Jalen Phillips more now, and maybe that's more because Chubb is.
That's my guess.
Involved. It's all complementing each other.
That's one of those things where it's like, people like you and me who, like, layperson, and we're on the outside and we don't exactly know everything that's going on. Like, that's one of those things where I'm kind of like, I gotta, like, where was Jalen Phillips at the start of the season? Oh, wow, he's been amazing since Bradley Chubb got here. Mm-hmm. Like, I kind of got to figure that's a direct result of Bradley Chubb.
Yeah, because you really do feel like you have to, like, account for Chubb. Yeah. He opens things up more for Jalen. But yeah, I think there are going to be some things where we take a step back and look at the season and be like, okay, well maybe if the defense, would
I'm
have
worried
held
about
up
Xavier
better.
Howard. I feel like he gets picked on a little bit. I'm worried about Xavier Howard.
He must not be healthy because he's proven that he's one of the best in the league, so there must be something going on there that maybe we're unsure about. But yeah, he's getting picked on and people aren't necessarily afraid of him,
Nope.
it feels like, which was always kind of the bread and butter of the defense the last 2 years. So
It's weird with DBs now. Like,
yeah,
there's no such thing as Deion Sanders anymore, where, pretty much his entire career, he's locked down the best you've ever seen. And now with DBs, it's kind of like running backs where they have a shelf life of like 3 or 4 years where they're locked down and then they fall off a cliff. And I hope that's not what's happening here.
And not to get super philosophical here on this aspect of the show, but like you wonder if maybe the weight of the league has kind of really turned into this pass heavy, like really talented wide receiver league. Like receivers are just like confident and good and talented, and they're like, I want those 50-50 balls with the best guy. It's just kind of maybe the way that the league and the game have kind of shifted in the last couple of years. Something we could do, a study we could do in the off season.
Ruthie, give me some thoughts on the finish of the Patriots game, which certainly helped the Dolphins. Okay, Patriots and Jets losing, because I believe if the Patriots won that game, or if the Jets would have won their game, the Dolphins would actually be on the outside looking in right now on the playoff picture. But both Jets and Patriots lost. Give me some thoughts on the end of the Patriot game there. I mean, holy crap!
I still don't have the words. It was the wildest thing I've ever seen in my life.
The dumbest thing.
The dumbest thing. They're not a well-coached team. Like, that's the bottom line to me. Like, and that's what's crazy. Like, this is Bill Belichick. Like, they are all over the place. And, you wonder if the issues with the quarterback are maybe leading into other facets of the game. And apparently Belichick said that wasn't the call, that they weren't even supposed to do that. Like the players were just like, hey, let's just like throw a lateral. Like, see if we can keep the play alive. Like, go to overtime. Like, what are we talking about? And I was joking with a couple of my friends in New England because Boston Sports Talk Radio is like gonna just have a heyday today. And it's funny because it's the holidays, and I was like, if people have time off, like they're coming in for this, like to talk about this.
Yeah.
And I was like, what's gonna get more airtime come up today, Monday? Either the last play or the 30-minute hug between Mac Jones and Josh McDaniels right after the game with Belichick standing there watching them.
Yeah, and Mac Jones every game now yells at Patricia on the sideline. As if he's Tom Brady, by the way. What's Mac Jones ever won to go yelling at coaches?
I'm with you. It's unbelievable what's happening there. And the fact that they're even alive is wild to me. But again, I still do feel that like Foxborough, and I know the Dolphins have really dominated the past, in the Tua era, but like I still feel that, hey, that's going to be a big game, and it's going to not be a blowout in New England. When you go in there and play, and those guys are fighting for a playoff spot. It's a really good defense. They still have a lot of really good players and leaders on defense. And so I think it's going to be, it's just wild. The division is crazy. I mean, the fact that the Bills and the Dolphins are in right now, and the Jets and the Pats are the two teams knocking on the door. It's unbelievable. And we're lucky, it's fun that we get to be in this, how much would it suck if they were just playing bad teams in their division all the time? Which kind of was how it was for the Pats for a long time. But I think it's just fun. It's really fun. But what happened in that game? I mean, I don't even know how to
it's amazing.
I don't know.
It was amazing. It was amazing. But amazing. And to bring it back full circle, what you just said, it's exactly why I think this, Dolphins, they make the playoffs. That's why this season's a home run. This season's been really, really super exciting, and it's going to finish with division games against New England and the Jets that both have a ton of meaning. And if the Dolphins win those 3 games to get into the playoffs, like all the conversations we're having with Dolphin fans right now who are really down and really upset, you're going to feel pretty amazing going into the postseason on a 3-game win streak and having beaten the Patriots and the Jets to get there. You're going to feel like it's a home run season.
100%. I'm with you there. And I think there's really nothing to me it's unacceptable to really lose any of these three.
You
Like,
gotta win them all.
don't control your own destiny for
Yeah.
once. Like, just get to the playoffs and the fact that you got there on your own, kind of type thing. Like, don't be like, oh well, we need this team to lose and this team to lose, and like put all the puzzle pieces together, because we kind of were playing that game the last couple of years. So it would be nice to just win and get in, do your job, come back home, play well at home. Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers, and Green Bay is still going to be Green Bay. I think you've got to win that game, but Green Bay's not dead yet. So it's going to be fascinating. It's going to be another prime time game, the whole world watching.
Yeah, 3 straight weeks the Dolphins are on standalone games because, if you're listening right now, all the game NFL Week 16 is a Saturday slate. There's only 3 games on Sunday, all right? And the Dolphins, all 3 of those games are standalone games. So the Dolphins, 1 p.m. on Sunday, Dolphins-Packers, the entire country is getting. So 3 straight weeks, the Dolphins are essentially national TV. Can we win one of these? I mean, can we win one of those national games?
Sheesh. Just stop embarrassing us.
Finally here, Ruthie Polinsky, what are we watching these days? You were on long flights to and from California. I'm sure I can't imagine that you finished Netflix. There's probably still a few shows out there. What are we watching these days?
Okay, White Lotus.
I asked the other day on Twitter, do I need to be watching White Lotus?
Yes. But you have to watch season 1 too. Did you watch season 1?
No, but of course I would start from the beginning.
My mom and my sister just watched season 1, loved it, and now I'm so excited to get to season 2. It's a fascinating show, like really good. Okay, this is crazy. The Vow also on HBO.
Oh, I don't know what that is.
Okay, it's a documentary series about Nexium, which was like a culty, it's a true story. It's about a cult that happened, and it was kind of turned into a closed door, kind of sex cult. And a guy I went to high school with is in the cult.
Wow.
And on the documentary, I know his family very well. And he still stands by the leader. You go to he's still a defender. It's unbelievable.
Wow.
So that was really crazy for me. Really crazy for me. I don't know if he's in the sex cult part, but he just defends kind of the leader. What else have I been watching? Those are 2 good ones. I highly recommend both. Have you been watching the in-season Hard Knocks with the Cardinals?
No, you know what? I do like the in-season better than the preseason. I think it's I just think it's more interesting. But I kind of grew out of Hard Knocks a few years ago.
I did too. I actually didn't watch the training camp one this year, but I've been watching the Cardinals one because I think what's happening there is fascinating, just the ultimate collapse. And so I'm a little bit behind. I just watched their game in Mexico City when they played the 49ers.
They're gonna lose that game.
So it's crazy when you kind of know what happened, but it's really fascinating because I kind of know what happens in the season, so I kind of want to see how they tell it. And I don't know if it stops. Is it only a few episodes? Is it only a few weeks, or do they go to that?
I think it's just 3 or 4 episodes, probably.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens. But,
All right. Those are good suggestions. I'm always open to suggestions. That's good stuff.
Cool.
Ruthie, are you on TV tonight? You want to tell people how they can see you?
Am I on TV tonight? That's a great question. What day is it? It's Monday. Yes. I am on TV. I am on TV tonight. I will be on at 5 o'clock and 11 o'clock on NBC6. Not a ton going on today. Panthers. McDaniel talks at 4:30, so that should be interesting.
Panthers got a big one tonight at Boston, coming off the huge. I think Panthers' best one of the season at New Jersey a couple nights ago. So this is a big one tonight.
You know what? And people are saying, "Man, what a disappointing season! What a disappointing season!" You don't have to win the President's Trophy this year. Just win a playoff series.
That's true.
Geez, and I think you look at the records of teams that have won the President's Trophy and then have gone on to win the whole thing. It doesn't happen very often. So I think Paul Maurice is so experienced. I trust him. I don't know what it is about him. I trust him. I find comfort in his answers, and I think he's really honest with us. And so I'm just being patient here.
You are very patient. You are better than me.
As long as you stay in the hunt and you're teaching this team how to win in the playoffs, it seems like Bob has kind of turned a corner here.
All right. You're patient.
I mean,
I'm super frustrated.
maybe it's because I've been so locked in on the Dolphins that I'm like, man, just give me something like to escape from it. And you know me, I love the Panthers, love hockey, and same with the Heat. It's like things, when the Dolphins
the
start
Heat I'm
losing,
feeling
like
better
everyone
about
else
right now.
does better.
The Heat I'm starting to feel good about right now. The Heat I'm feeling good about.
Yeah.
The Heat I feel good about. Ruthie, excellent job as always. Always appreciate you hopping on with us. Thank you so much.
Fun chat today, ZASLOW. Like this discussion.
Thank you for waking up. I know you had a late night last night. Sports final. Thank you.
Running on just a couple hours of sleep, but we are alive and thriving and always happy to join you.
Good job, Ruthie.
Thanks.